Welcome to Xara Template Tutorial Lesson 124 for the Xara Web Designer 9 Premium software. In this tutorial, we're going to continue where we left off in regards to creating a fixed position button on your website. And in this particular tutorial, I'm going to show you how to change the position of your HTML buttons, and I'm also going to show you how to keep them in a fixed position so that when you scroll through your web page, it stays in that position no matter what. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have that same document open that we were working on in the previous tutorial. And once you have that open, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control-Shift-W, bring up my website properties, and I'm going to click on HTML code head. Okay, and when you click on that, we're going to go ahead and start writing our CSS code. So the first thing that you want to write is angle bracket and then style. And style is just dealing with the look or the feel of your website. Okay, how it's going to be structured and laid out. Go ahead and hit the spacebar key and then write type equals text / CSS, and that's going to be in quotes. So a beginning quote before text and then a quote after CSS. And that's just defining what type of language we're using. We're using text and we're using CSS, which CSS stands for cascading style sheet, or the look and feel, the layout of the website. So we're going to be styling either text or the layout of the website, which is the CSS. So I'll say that one more time. The text is going to style the look of the text, and CSS is going to style the structure or the layout of your website. So I'm going to write an angle bracket on the end of that, and that's going to be our starting code for our style sheet. And go ahead and hit the enter key a couple times, and I'm going to close this tag. So write an angle bracket / style, and that's going to be the endpoint of our styling for our CSS and text. And in between that, I'm going to actually create some more space here. I'm going to start writing my CSS code for this particular tutorial. So go ahead and write a period, and what a period stands for is class. So when you're dealing with CSS code, a period stands for class. So period equals class. Okay, it's very important that you understand that. Period equals class. And in this case, I'm going to define a class as Twitter. In other words, this is the name for that class. The name is Twitter. So class equals Twitter is what this is saying. So period.Twitter means class equals Twitter. And we're going to use this later on. So it's very important that you understand that what that means. And you'll understand it as we go to the other parts of the code. So after you have that, go ahead and hit the enter key and then write a swirly bracket. And I'm going to hit the enter key again, and I'm going to start writing some of our CSS code. So in this case, I'm going to write position and then semicolon. I spelled position wrong, so I need to retype that. Then write colon and then write fixed, because we want to create a fixed position. And then write a semicolon to close that line of code. So we're done with that line of code. So now we've defined that we want a fixed position. So go ahead and hit the enter key. And this time we're going to write top, because we want to create a top margin, and then semicolon, and we're going to write 150 pixels, so 150 px, and write semicolon, and that's going to close that line of code. So now we've given this class a top margin of 150 pixels, and hit enter key, and then we're going to write left, and then we're going to write colon, and we're going to write 0 pixels, semicolon, and that's going to give a left margin of 0. Because we want that button to be fixed to the side of the screen. Okay, and then hit enter and then write a swirly bracket to close up that code. So now we're done adding our code in. So let's go ahead and hit OK and hit apply. And this time we're going to go to HTML code body. And within here, we're going to change the class. Well, actually, in this case, we're going to add a class to Twitter. So click right after the IMG for the Twitter image that we're linking to, and hit the spacebar key, and then write class equals, and in quotes we're going to write Twitter. Okay, so class equals Twitter. Twitter needs to be in quotes, and we're just referencing that class that we created in the CSS code. So go ahead and hit OK, hit apply, OK, hit F5, and you'll see that the Twitter button has now moved down from its original position. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Control-Shift-W to bring up website properties again. And this time we're going to go back to the HTML code head section again. And we're going to create another piece of code in here. So this time I'm going to write period. And remember, period stands for class. And I'm going to write blog. Okay, so we're going to define the class as blog this time. Go ahead and hit the enter key, write a swirly bracket, hit the enter key again. And this time we're going to write position, colon, and then write fixed, write semicolon, and that's going to be our first line of code. And that's going to give it a fixed position. And then we're going to give it a top margin of 300. We're going to double it. And then write px, semicolon. So we got a top margin of 300 pixels. Hit the enter key again. And then we're going to give it a left margin of 0 pixels again with a semicolon. Write a swirly bracket on the end. So I think you get the general idea, through this second example of how this works. So we're going to take this period blog and we're going to take that and we're going to reference it under the blog image. So we're going to write class equal blog when we go back to the body section. So go ahead and hit OK, hit apply, and then we're going to go to HTML code body. And then for the blog image, right after IMG, we're going to hit the spacebar key and we're going to write class equals, and in quotes, we're going to write the word blog. Okay, and if we hit OK, hit apply, OK, hit F5, you'll see now that the blog is right after the Twitter button. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to move the YouTube button right after the blog. So let's go ahead and close this out and hit Control-Shift-W to bring up our website properties. Go to the head section, and we're going to create another piece of code here for us to have that YouTube button move down. So I'm going to write period YouTube, hit enter, swirly bracket, enter, position, colon, fixed, semicolon, and then we're going to write top, colon, and we're going to put 450 pixels this time, and we're going to put colon, and we're going to put a left margin of 0 pixels, and then colon. And then we're going to close it with a swirly bracket, like so. Hit OK, hit apply, and then let's go ahead and go to the body section. And this time, we're going to go ahead and change it for YouTube. So class equals YouTube, in quotes, and hit OK, apply, OK, F5, and you'll see that now the YouTube image has moved right after the blog. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually extend the size of this web page. I'm going to make it much taller, and I'm just going to add in some rectangles just so that there's a perception of depth and change, I should say, in terms of from scrolling from the top of the page to the bottom, so that you'll see that those images stay in the same exact position. So you don't have to follow me in regards to making these rectangles. I'm just doing this so that you can see that there's a change in distance from the top of the page to the bottom, and that the buttons remain in the same position. So go ahead and hit F5 to preview this. And if we scroll up or down, you'll see that the buttons on the left hand side of our screen stay in the same exact position. Okay, so you've successfully now created fixed position buttons on the left hand side of your screen. So if this tutorial was helpful, don't forget to embed, comment, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video on actually adding the links for the fixed position buttons on the left hand side of your screen. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, don't forget to embed, comment, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions, and have a great day.